Like you said, my name is Michael Roberts, and I've been thinking a lot recently about belief. And I think maybe it's the holiday season and all the holiday trees, and everyone has these super precious beliefs that they're holding and they're starting to bring forward. And we're looking at this season of giving and committing. And I thought professionally, where does that leave me? And I think if I were to sum it down, I would say I believe in dialogue. I believe that dialogue brings us to where we want to be. It is the back and forth of communication. It's more than just a person presenting and another person listening. So I would love this to be a dialogue. I would love people to feedback. There was 20 minutes listed for us. It's going to be really hard for me to stay under 20 minutes. I'm just letting you know, like that's my intro speech, generally speaking. I do work for the Portland Police Bureau. I'm a lieutenant for the afternoon shift. We have 3 shifts, and I want to try to communicate better to you so you understand a little bit more of why I'm presenting the way that I am. We have 3 shifts for us. Each shift works a different time of the day, right? So we have 3 precincts in the Police Bureau, and this is all of our patrol division. And that's what you think of when you think of the police. These are my 2 officers that I brought with me, really because Laurent was going to bring a fire truck and a bunch of dudes. And I was like, I'm not going to be outshone by that. So I brought 2 really important people to this meeting. Number 1, what we call a district officer. So tonight, Officer Wolfer here is working as the district officer for 920s, and that's the number sequence we have for this Woodstock neighborhood over here. It also goes all the way up to 82nd Avenue. It goes down to 39th, and we go from basically the border of Selwood over to Steele, or do we go further than that?
Up to like Foster.
Okay, so you have 1 cop that works that area tonight. So if you have one thing that goes wrong, you have 1 cop to deal with it. East Precinct is really busy, and a lot of our resources are going to be in different areas. And so a lot of times you're wondering, well, where are the cops? I never see cops around here. And the truth is, we're scattered pretty far. Tonight, we have 18 cops working on my shift. I have the busiest shift in the state by far. By far, the afternoon shift at East Precinct takes more calls than the city of Salem will today, the full day. But I've got 18 cops working that today. And so it is hard for us to be in more than one place at a time. Our staffing levels are what they are, and we do the best we can with it, and we're going to continue to do that. But I like to give everyone a heads up on who we are coming into the room. It's been a really interesting year. Laurent and I were talking how we keep having these cycles of change. This has been a year where when I presented to your president, I said, hey, do you have any questions you want me to talk about? He said, well, generally, let's talk about holiday stuff and how we can be safe around the holidays. And, maybe talk about if you have any obligation to work with the federal government on immigration. And I was like, whoa. But we kind of all right.
To be fair, that was a question that was asked by someone in the community. I think
it's great. It's a great question, and it is not unique. It is a question that everyone is asking right now. So I'm going to talk about those 2 things, and then I'm going to introduce you to a few other things. The other person I brought with me today is Officer Edgecombe, who's a brand new cop. She's a legacy cop. Her dad was actually a sergeant that I worked with for a very long time. And it's really amazing to watch a full circle of family generations, not just in Portland, but people who are taking up this service industry. It's really important. And I want to remind everybody we're hiring. And I really want to encourage people who are good, strong members of the community. Come and work with us. Come and be part of a solution. Okay, I'll let you talk to those 2 later if you so choose to. The first thing we'll talk about is our immigration stuff. And I forwarded some information. I'm going to leave this over here. This is a printed copy of a link that I sent earlier, and you can get a link through your president. But ultimately, there were laws in place long before we had this current situation in the government about how the Portland Police will work with or not work with federal groups. We don't do that. We don't feel any obligation to do it. We already have state law, 2 different state laws that have laid the rules out very clearly. We don't do immigration enforcement. That's nothing we're going to engage in. So what we have is a situation where there are state laws sometimes that we're going to have to enforce, and there could be some crossover. It's not often that we see this, but there could be a situation where there might be an immigration enforcement happening. And then while that's going on, we're going to stay hands off, but that could lead to a state crime. And while we're not going to work together with the immigration enforcement, we might later on pick up that investigation for a state crime. So that's where that crossover is. This piece of paper, take a look at it. Please send the link out to everyone who's interested in the community. It's really important. The mayor put out some really strong information. This collaborates with Chief Bob Day's information. And I just want everyone to be aware that the Portland Police Bureau are very separate from our federal government right now. That's number one. Number two, the second question that was asked was, how many burglaries do we have here in the Woodstock neighborhood? It's funny. I lived here. I lived about a half mile away. My daughter used to take dance classes in this room. It was always weird watching the martial art belts on the wall while she was doing pirouettes. And I was like, oh, it seems odd, but maybe she'll get into like jujitsu or something. We had 47 burglaries in Woodstock like in a full year. That's how many were reported. It doesn't mean that's how many happened. Some of those are going to be burglary in the second degree, which is when we talk about burglary, there's burglary in the first degree, which is at a residence, and then burglary in the second degree, which is more like trespassing at a store that you'd already shoplifted from, and you wind up getting a second charge there. I don't know what the separation between the two are, but I can tell you that that is not a huge number. So I was pretty excited to hear that number over the course of a year. I'm going to do a little deep dive and see if I can break it down further for you, but it's a pretty safe area in terms of that particular crime. We have an open data portal that everyone is welcome to. This is also included as a link in the information I sent earlier. The open data portal is an ongoing, you can adjust the time frame that you look at your data, but we collect our data and we share. So this is just a snippet of it, and then you'll find a link. I just typed in, hey, this is the Woodstock neighborhood. We lost it. Well, it's fine. You have a question. I'm excited. That's great. Let's go. Yeah.
I didn't submit my question, but it's related. So we had a city councilor here a while back, and they mentioned that Portland doesn't currently have any detectives. And you know that? Do you know that?
Any what?
Detectives. Oh. And he was talking about Red Castle things getting burglarized at the time, so it was back in the habit. And so I was wondering when these burglaries happen, what the follow-up is. Is it true that there's not any detective work?
So
and then what is
and what does it look like? So I think that maybe there's a little bit of mixed messaging there. I think what perhaps was mentioned, and I wasn't there, was that we removed our burglary detectives for several years. We stopped investigating property crime for quite a while from a detective division perspective. We have a little less than 800 cops. To give you an idea of what that looks like as a comparable, Boston has about the same population as Portland. Boston has 5,500 cops, and their metropolitan area is the same as ours. So it's hard when you have such a reduced amount of resources to say, hey, do I investigate the sex crime, the homicide, or the burglary? Like, you got to have to drop the burglary, which we did. But I'm excited to say that just last week, we reinitiated our burglary task force. So we basically went right back in and said, we got to figure out a way to do this. Because what was happening is Officer Wolfer was out there taking your report of the burglary, going to another call, and at the same time trying to figure out, how can I investigate this further? He was the one, or whoever it would be that night. Wolfer only works 4 days a week. So, we kind of fill in the gaps there. So right now we're in a good place where we're really prioritizing how we get ahead of these things, but that's what was going on at that point. We've taken up a partnership with a group called PEMO. Does anybody in the room know who PEMO is? Online?
I think we had somebody talk about it recently. I'm trying to remember what the acronym stands for.
Yeah, it's the Portland Environmental Management Organization. Is that right? Office. This is an amazing partnership. And I go back to dialogue for a second, because I was looking at a doctorate in dialogue policing. I was about to engage in it, and I was like, God, I can't do that. I'm awful at this. Like, we have done such a terrible job of sharing with the community the basic like partnerships that we've created, which I think benefit the community so much more than simply saying call 911 or call the non-emergency number. So for us, you'll have these calls like a person is camping in an area that is hard for pedestrian traffic to get around. Maybe it's not quite on a sidewalk, but it's pretty close. It's not a crime. It's close to it, but it's definitely a problem. It's a problem for someone who would come through with needing wheelchair access or maybe using a walker or something. So we know we have to deal with it, but I've got a homicide down the block, so I'm going to send cops to the homicide. Well, our partners, PEMO, really picked up on this and they have run with it fully. And I'm going to introduce you to Laura really quick, and she's going to give a quick spiel. But I think the work that they're doing is amazing because what it does is it's kind of broken apart what law enforcement couldn't cover, right? There's some things that are just, when you only have 780 cops, there's only so much that you're going to be able to address. And so with,
Can I ask
yes.
you a really simple question that's sort of related to what you were just talking about?
Yeah.
1 or 2 days ago, I took a class from Martinez on Stop the Bleed.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that? Is that something you
I initiated Stop the Bleed here in Portland with my next door neighbor, who's the head of pediatric surgery for Randalls and Dornbecker. So yes, we taught it in all the public schools.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Do you want more information about that? It's a great program.
We do get some information.
Yeah.
From,
Net.
Net, we're also Southeast Net, in their communication. So.
Yeah. What we did was we taught it to all the public school teachers at in-service for about 2-3 years in a row. Then we wound up running it to 2020. That was a problem for us. We took a few years off and we just got back in last year. So it's still going. It's still teaching basically trauma care, like as an immediate response in the schools in the case that we have, God forbid, a school shooting. It's something that it's a tool.
All levels, like elementary, middle, and high school teachers?
So yes and no. Obviously, the in-service for Portland Public Schools is vast. So we were able the first year to do middle school. The second year we went into high school. The third year, I don't know what happened. So I moved out of that role. But yeah, I was part of the group that initiated it. I signed the grant, and I think it's wonderful. It's a wonderful collaboration.
You have a question online, David?
Yeah, I was wondering what the general assessment within the Bureau is for the number of sworn officers that are needed. What would be optimal in terms of, from your point of view?
That's a really mean question to throw at me, David. I'm just a guy. I will tell you this. The way that every city addresses public order and response to crime and or the needs of community, it's different, right? And so the way that Portland has addressed it separates the police function, that law enforcement function, from other things like PEMO, and I'll introduce Laura in just a minute. We'll get to you. Statistically, I would say we need double the amount of cops that we have now. That's what I would say for a city of our size. This is just me. It is one guy. This is not based in any data that I'm looking at. You can take a look at a few different areas to find the data and make the decision of your own. You could look at comparable cities the same way you would look at comps for your house if you were selling your house, or you could look at, I believe, the PPA, that is the Portland Police Association. That's the officer and sergeant union, which I am not a member of, so I'm not trying to sell you on something. They had some studies that talked about other cities. I'm not going to go out and say that the police bureau believes we need X, Y, or Z. I'm going to say we're going to do what we can with what we have. I'd love to have some more cops. I'd love to have more than 18 cops working tonight in East Prison. Yes.
Thank you.
Is that a budgeting issue or a hiring issue?
Probably both, if we're being honest. It's a really hard time to hire, and I think this is across the board. I was talking to a kid that works for Amazon today, and he's doing mandatory 12 hours of overtime a week. And I was like, is that just the holidays? He's like, It's just where we are in the world today. So I wonder if there's this transition of this new generation coming up and what that looks like to enter the workforce. But it's also a budgeting thing. We are in a budget crisis as a city, and I think we all recognize it. And everybody is trying to get a piece of the pie to try to support what they do. That is for us. That's the community. The community is going to have to lead that conversation. We're going to do what we can with what we have, and we would love to have more, just like everybody else would. And I'm being as political as I can possibly be with this answer. Yes.
Along the lines of budget crisis, the phone number that you call now for when you call 311, you also have to call 311 or 823-4000. You get 311. It used to be you called 823-4000 and you got somebody who said, I can get you the name of the person who works in this bureau. But now you call 823-4000 and it is 311. And there's a longer wait. It used to be you called like 6 months ago, I guess you call 311 and just like that, you get an answer.
I'll be honest, I don't know because I believe the 311 call, and Laura, maybe you know more on this than I do. I believe that's the mayor's office, isn't it? Because that's the one point of contact number. And so that's not the same as when you're calling the police. That's the Bureau of Emergency Communication. And so that's the 911, the 823-3333. That's when you're calling for like a first response. And then they'll vet, should we send a big fire truck? Right. So that's more of that livability stuff, which is an awesome transition right over to my partner at PEMO. You can come on up and just introduce yourself. You can talk or not. I'm here. I support you.
I can hold it and just, yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Martinez, and I'm wearing dual hats tonight. I am the president of the Midway Business Association, and my partner at the Menlo Park Business Association couldn't be here, but we're both in District 1, very close to East Precinct. And Lieutenant Roberts said, can you bring some information? And I said, yes. So we have holiday safety tips that we prepared from the Business Association. On the other side is the PEMO hat, which is in the spirit of partnership, something that we treasure with the Portland Police, helping each other out, making sure that those 47 burglaries are like close to no burglaries by keeping people safe, giving tips. And I have some door knockers, which is something that if you've looked around and you maybe have seen this design, we wrap the signal wraps in this beautiful artwork, and you can tell that apart. And we started putting these in the businesses. We unrolled the sidewalks are getting a fresh, clean start. And you might see the trucks and the little pink bicycles, and we're cleaning the streets, making sure that if you're having an event or there's a hot spot that you see, give us a call and we'll send somebody out. But on the back are these great links to how do you report drug activity, graffiti, campsites, abandoned vehicles. And maybe it's not in your neighborhood, but it's something that you've seen on the way to something. And it's like, how do I report it? And exactly what you're saying, before it was this number, now it's this number. This is all current. So this is all just a way to keep you safe. And in the other pamphlet that I have here is also, how do you report something to PBOT, ODOT, 311, what constitutes calling PBOT or ODOT. And it's very confusing. And so these cheat sheets really help out a lot. And then I brought something from the American Red Cross to prepare yourself for the holidays. And there's a checklist on the back to make sure that you have everything. And I see all this great stuff that the fire department brought. So that's awesome. Does anybody have any questions about PEMO or any of the work that we're doing in District 1?
So is that also addressing like houseless folks, here campers, that kind of stuff?
Yes. How you can report it is on, it's on this door knocker in the back. And then also there's some other links in here too. So you're welcome to take that. But the door knocker one has a current one. And if you have any issues, trash or, whatever, then you would send an email to PEMO@portlandoregon.gov and it comes to us. And we are a mighty group of 10 for the whole entire city. So we try to get out there, but these materials really help out because we can pass them out in groups like this. And it's like, okay, I just touched all these people and now I don't have to go back out again, and tell your neighbors and your friends. And this is a good resource to have.
So I just have this one fellow that lives on the streets here, who is probably functions about like a 10-year-old. He never finished school and he had a central hematoma in his early 20s. So probably some brain damage with that. And he's feral. He's totally feral. And I've been calling 311. I've got his name, I've got his date of birth, I've got pictures of him, and I'm trying to refer him. I've been doing that I've made calls on and off for a year or two. And I'm not getting any calls back. I got an aging and disability at one point to try and make appointments with them, but they took him out of the neighborhood and he grew up here. He's got to be in this neighborhood. So anyway, I'm just trying to figure out because it's going to take somebody coming day after day after day to visit.
Yes. And so see me afterwards and I'll tell you how to report that. If you have this type of an issue, we have a link to send out a worker to come out and come and talk to them. And the mayor does have a great program, a reunification program, that if he has family somewhere, will pay for him to go back home. And we've been successful with that. Yeah. But if you have that type of an issue, then I will give you that link and you can put it maybe in your newsletter. If you see somebody who has mental health problems, they will come out, and that's the Portland Street response. And they will send out a worker.
Unless it rises to that level where it's the police bureau. And we also have our behavioral health unit. And these are for more acute cases, which may have a little more nuance to it. Some things that might be a little more dangerous by nature.
He calls me and is just as sweet as can be, at least to me.
Sure.
I don't know what he's doing.
This sounds like a great dialogue. I'm loving this. I love
Yeah.
what we did here. I feel like it's full circle.
Dialogue and
I'm going to finish
partnership.
up and I will
Thank you.
say this. Laura and her team are an amazing resource. I would very much encourage you to include PEMO in your meetings, because all the little things that you want someone to handle, and traditionally we've called police for a lot of things, and I think we had the capacity at some point to do that, but we're not always the best resource. We're just not, and we know that. And so this is a great transition point for us, and we're so thankful for the work that they do. The last thing that you're going to see here, there was a question about the holidays. And so we'll finish up with the holidays really quick. The holiday season is here. Most of us are doing a lot of online shopping, I'm told, from my friend at Amazon who's working an extra 12 hours a week. Packages. If you have packages coming to your house and you work during the day, maybe create a buddy system with your neighbors, right? Maybe get somebody else to pick up your package or you pick up their package. Do the best you can to not leave that on the porch. That's appetizing to the wrong type of person. We don't want to invite that kind of energy into our space. When you're shopping, leave your vehicle, the interior of your vehicle, showroom quality. Don't leave anything in there. Nothing that's going to invite someone to think there's even change in your center console. My wife does not appreciate when I say this, and I say it all the time, but like, it's just an invitation. And sometimes you have to weigh the risks of, do I want to leave it unlocked so that they don't break my window and maybe they take my stuff? Or do I want to lock it and, hope that that's going to keep me safe? I hate that we're in a time when I have to say that crime is just a thing and we accept it. But be cautious of these things. We're all old enough where we've seen it before. And for those of us that have escaped these little, just horrible infringements, awesome. Let's keep it that way. And for those of us that have been victimized, let's try to prevent ourselves from being victimized again.